Alright, so this is video number 1 in a series of 7 videos I'm going to do. This is for the outer school, the preparatory studies, the 7 stages before you enter Ordo Rosa Anglia. So the first lesson deals with discernment. I put some videos in front of you in the lesson, and I want to see what you think personally about what's being expressed to you. And the culmination is the understanding of abrasics. Abrasics being one, full circle, the whole 9 yards. Okay, so abrasics is the whole idea of what is being expressed by a demiurge. And the first lesson deals with that. So which do you choose? Do you choose the dove or do you choose the serpent? Well, the simple answer to that is you choose both of them. You integrate them, light and dark. And so we get into cognitive dissonance. And, well, what is a cognitive dissonance, Well, primarily a cognitive dissonance is a belief in a particular thing. Once you believe something, then you have to prove it, So you go and you look for the information to prove your side. That results in what's called a confirmation bias. And so that's where we begin. We have to deal with these issues that prevent us from moving forward. And that's always a duality. It's a lack of understanding of the human consciousness and how it's been expressed and it works. I've talked about this before through Herbert Spencer's First Principles. If you go back there, you'll see, everything that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about isn't something new. I didn't discover it. It's been there. Okay? So intuitively, these lessons came to be able to be expressed. And the first one is cognitive dissonance. So we have to deal with that. If we choose just the dove, or we choose just the serpent, or we choose, then we have a conflict. So we have to go full circle around the Ogdoadic tradition to realize the stage of integration. And so that's where we're beginning. And later on we'll express more knowledge in regards to this within the order. But right now, this is preparatory studies. So that's where you begin, dealing with cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias, and being able to look at information objectively without being prejudiced, without not allowing it to express itself because it doesn't agree with your point of view. Okay. So it only doesn't agree with your point of view. What about everybody else? Everybody else has the right to hear about it. So that's where you got to check yourself. You really do. You got to say, okay, well, I have some kind of dissonance. Like if you believe God is more important than the devil, that's a dissonance. If you are caught up just on the devil, that's a dissonance. Okay? They have to be integrated into that divine realization. Light and dark have to be integrated. So, it's interesting. Synchronicity always plays its part in these types of lessons. And so earlier, my wife and I, Callie, are listening to a video about Kenneth Grant. And it begins to, express itself through the number 107. Okay? And what's interesting about this number of 107 is it relates back to the idea of a cosmic egg, and it's the connection to 144. And 144 is the frequency that you need to be on in order for frequencies to speak to you. If you don't get past these dissonances, here's a big dissonance. Animals are more important than vegetables. Is that true? It's sentient life. So we should honor all things that give us life. And that's a truth. One thing isn't more important than another thing. Isn't that where man has gotten into problems? By placing himself at the center of everything? He's the most important? No. We have to extend this honor to all life. Okay? So, whatever. If you think you have to go, eat as a vegan, then go ahead and do that. Okay? But don't be presumptuous and impose that upon those people who eat meat, because within the order of Babylon, eating meat is a sacred thing. We have rituals that deal with eating meat because we're not Abrahamic, we don't believe that way. So you might see feasting on a particular thing, say a lamb or whatever, okay? That might be a sacred festival to feed a lot of people, okay? Who are we to judge anything like that? I'm tired of hearing about it, for one thing. It's just a cognitive dissonance. Get past it. It's like politics. Politics create a massive cognitive dissonance. When I'm dealing with people, straight up, don't talk to me about religion and don't talk to me about politics. Be like a kind Irish gentleman and don't speak to me about those things. If people live by that wisdom right there, they would have defeated a lot of the problems. That came from my ancestors, by the way. Okay? That we have to get past all that. Get past that. Get past all of that. Leave it there. Accept the absurd. But you don't have to agree with it. Create your own reality. But that begins with, the first step. And that is challenging your cognitive dissonances. And where you have a confirmation bias, where you won't listen to other people, listen to truth. Discern through wisdom. That's hard-earned wisdom. You've gone through initiation, you've realized your own potential, you've overcome your own challenges, which is primarily you, and now you're at a power stage where your life is to be ruled by wisdom, power guided by wisdom. We're not talking about just aimless power, not within the Ogdoadic, circle, not at all. So the sequence is, we've realized this power. Let's transcend this dissonance. Why have a division? Why divide it? Why fight over who has a better paradigm over another? That's kind of ridiculous. So I'm the instructor. I'm Mark, and my wife is doing her thing. But this is the first. This is going to be the first video of the series, and I just kind of wanted to get out there to introduce myself to you. I'm a Magus. You know, I've been a Magus since 1997. I don't argue a lineage. I think lineages are stupid. You know, if you can transmit light, then you can transmit light. You know, you don't need lineages. That just blocks up people. For myself, you know, the tradition of the craft that I learned was through Pickingill, George Pickingill. He was a cunning man. And the whole line of witches, the magi that are in that line, they're incredible. You know, Aleister Crowley, Gerald Gardner, you name it, they're in that line, you know. So, you know, I could certainly argue lineage, you know, through Eldenach and my previous initiations. But I've proven myself as a Magus, initiated in 1997, you know. My wife and I started the Church of Babylon about a year ago in relation to restructuring the Ecclesia Luciferi Gnostica, which is the name of the corporation that we run. It's a non-profit domestic corporation. And that's where the majority of our proceeds go for sales of our books and whatnot. And in later phases, you know, there'll be a nominal fee for the materials that are necessary for that phase of the class. This first phase, you know, you have to get through the first seven, you know, the septenary preparatory studies before you know, you're asked to, you know, dedicate yourself to yourself within the order itself and receive the blessing and the help from other brothers and sisters who have gone down the path before you, honoring the greats. You know, the greats have influenced the way of the circle and the alignment of the spiritual journey and the infernal baptism of our organization, you know, which is the highest stage, where you start to create your life through wisdom. You start to manifest the life that you want to live, the life worth living, through wisdom. So the first thing that you need to do is challenge your cognitive dissonances. And so that's it. I'll see you in video 2. All right. You want to say something? Okay. I'll see you in video 2, where we're going to start to talk about nihilism, and we're going to talk about the need to sound out your philosophy. I think video 2 is going to deal with enlightenment. I'm going to present the teachings, some of the teachings of Gadamer about the age of enlightenment and how to discern, you know. For myself, I realized that Immanuel Kant was off his rocker. It kind of hit me because I had always held Immanuel Kant in very high esteem. You can see some libraries where I suggested that you read Immanuel Kant. And then I realized that this particular thing that he believed in, dealing with enlightenment, I mean, it doesn't come down to fear or laziness. It comes down to maturity. And what does fear and laziness have to do with maturity? But we're not going to get into that right now. We need to learn. The point of lesson 2 is we need to learn to discern the truth from the false and support the real and not the phony. Okay? To realize what really is going on. and challenging traditions. If reason doesn't pan out, so why do we do it? You know, why do we do it? You know? And in lesson 3, we're going to talk about philosophy, your philosophy, what you live according to. That underlying program that is ever elusive from you is now going to be brought to your attention. Then we're going to talk about nihilism, and we're going to talk about escaping the absurd, and we're going to talk about the courage to be, the courage to create, and then you'll be ready, to formulate your own paradigm through a shift. And we're going to show you how to do that too. So stick with us. This is video 1 of 7. Okay. 666. Blessed be.